Well, this video is counterintuitive, but it's true. It's something that we definitely have to talk about, and I've been noticing this trend for quite a while now, and I wasn't sure how I was going to make this video. Now, if you looked at the schedule recently of the Nintendo Switch 2, you'll realize that there's definitely a trend in games, and not necessarily the biggest game that everyone wants, like a brand new Legend of Zelda, 3D Mario, or at least a Nintendo Direct. So far for this schedule, we got a Mario Tennis game, the Virtual Boy, we also have upcoming Pokemon games, and oh wait, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, and Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. May I say more, or should we get straight into it? Now, I just want to start off by saying I don't have anything against Nintendo Switch 2 editions as long as they don't take place during an actual big release. Because let's just say our supposed leaked 3D Mario, and when I say leaked 3D Mario, I got my fingers crossed, like, you know, doing the little bunny ears, because right now leaks are all over the place. But let's just say our leaked 3D Mario is actually a Super Mario Odyssey Nintendo Switch 2 edition that adds extra levels. Now, I don't know about you, but I would be pretty upset if that is the case, because it feels like Nintendo is taking their old games, adding stuff. Sure, that is fine in many different cases, but sometimes the Switch 2 edition really misses the mark. Like, let's just name off a few. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Now, this Nintendo Switch 2 edition wasn't inherently bad, but for $30 Canadian, there definitely is something that they could have added. With that, you had things that you were able to use the camera in mini games. You also had extra mouse mode mini games, and you had an extra sort of stand-up and parties game. But besides that, it's like, could they have made a brand new Mario Party or added a GameCube version of Mario Party? But instead, we got a Switch 2 edition. Now, I want to talk about the actual good Nintendo Switch 2 editions in my opinion. Like, so far, Kirby and the Forgotten Land has definitely been one of the best ones, I would say. It had all of those levels, but if you were really going to take it into consideration, at the end of the day, it is just extra Kirby levels. I thought that game was definitely fantastic. It had so much, but did it really need a Nintendo Switch 2 edition instead of maybe potentially a brand new remaster of a Kirby game or a brand new Kirby game? It's really where Nintendo is taking place. And in February, we haven't even gone our Nintendo Direct that usually happens. So I feel like Nintendo, ever since the Nintendo Switch 2, they're probably going to do something like this every year, because if you don't remember, January used to be the actual date for the Nintendo Direct, and then it got moved over to February. And now in February, we don't have an actual Nintendo Direct, but instead a partner showcase, and then moving over to March, there still could be a Nintendo Direct, but I feel like Nintendo is going to move it over to April and say good luck, guys. So they're probably going to add more Switch 2 editions, because the most recent one was actually Xenoblade Chronicles X on the day that we were supposedly going to be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 actual general direct. So we got the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, this isn't an actual Switch 2. I don't know if you consider different Switch 2 editions of being different editions of the game, like the ones with the sort of DLC. What do you consider that into it? Like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and also the Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And then there's other editions, like the Zelda ones, that just give you a little app and also make the game look nicer, which is like $10. And then you have the Animal Crossing one, which is $5. And it seems like the Xenoblade one is going to be $5 as well. It doesn't really add anything, but I believe mouse controls and also 4K, so you have to pay for that. But overall, it's something that I feel like Nintendo could be doing better right now, because at the end of the day, Nintendo fans across the world are so excited for the next General Direct. You can tell, these rumors, these leaks spread like wildfire across the internet. Someone says something, hey, Nintendo Direct 3rd week of February, it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden we got a giant spread of fire, like a wildfire spreading across the universe. But it didn't happen, and Nintendo fans are definitely disappointed into that. And Switch 2 editions aren't actually helping the cause. If you know what I mean, it's not actually helping, because we want to see our big games. We want to see like 3D Mario, we want to see a Zelda, or we want to see like those games. Like right now, the games that Nintendo gave us, some of them are fantastic, some of them are great. Depending on how you are, depending on how you play games, you'll probably like different games than what I'm saying. But right now, I feel like the Nintendo Switch 2 lineup has been definitely different than you would think of the Nintendo 3DS, the Nintendo Switch. We were probably spoiled with the Nintendo Switch, getting Mario Odyssey, getting The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, getting a bunch of different games that really felt great and unique. This time around, it feels like Nintendo didn't give us like the big game. Of course, we did get Mario Kart. Of course, we did get Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors, but the point is, it doesn't really appeal to the majority of Nintendo fans, if that makes any sense. But overall, maybe I'm just thinking too much into this. Maybe Nintendo Switch 2 editions are the thing of the future, where Nintendo can work on these games or these add-ons and then allow the players to decide if they want to pick up this thing for like $30 as additional DLC that they didn't want to do DLC for, or do they want to wait for something brand new? Because you really got to think about it. If Nintendo is spending time making these additions, and one other thing I want to take a note on is Animal Crossing, because that game is 5 years old. You probably could have seen a brand new Animal Crossing, but instead we got a brand new Animal Crossing update that added things. Now, of course, it would be a pretty small Animal Crossing game if that was the game, but still, the point is they could have worked on these games, and I feel like that's what the Nintendo Switch 2 editions stand in the way of. It would be great. The Switch 2 editions are pretty cool. Some of them I really enjoy. Like I said, I love Kirby and the Forgotten Lands Star-Crossed World. I think that honestly is my favorite one. But then we had Switch 2 editions, if you consider them as like Pokemon Legends ZA is a Switch 2 edition, which I don't really consider that as a Switch 2 edition. It is definitely strange that you have to pay more for the more expensive hardware that you just bought, but whatever. Overall, I just think that this is a weird way that Nintendo is taking it into consideration, because think about it. If we didn't get the Switch 2 editions, because those essentially act as filler games, we probably could have seen more and more games. We probably could have even seen this 3D Mario at some point, but instead we're getting a Mario Wonder Switch 2 edition that adds mostly multiplayer thing, but what about the single player players? What if they wanted a 3D Maker, a Super Mario 3D Maker, something like that? Maybe that could happen, but instead the Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder is here. So overall, what are your thoughts on Nintendo Switch 2 edition? Do you think I went on a ramble too much, dug too deep into this? Or do you think it does make sense that the Nintendo Switch 2 edition is maybe taking up some of the slots for games that we could have gotten in the future? Overall, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and thanks a lot. Anyways, see you in the next one.